Welcome to this morning's devotion. We are in Ruth 3. This is my favorite chapter of Ruth. And here we see the gears starting to turn for Naomi. Um, we see that they went back to Bethlehem to try to be provided for now that they are without husbands. And not only did they find some provision for the day, but they found Boaz, a kinsman redeemer of theirs, who is now blessing them and encouraging them and allowing them to continually come back to his field and have providence. And so now we see Naomi hatching a plan. And so Naomi says to Ruth that we must find you a home and some provision. And so that night, while Boaz and the men are working very hard, Ruth washes up and puts on perfume and gets dressed in her best clothes, which, again, at this point, they are in quite a bit of poverty, so those might not have been as impressive as we sometimes think. But that she is to go down to the threshing floor after they are finished eating and drinking, and when Boaz is lied down, that she is to uncover his feet and lie down by them, and then Boaz will tell her what to do next. And so Ruth agrees to follow Naomi's orders, and she does so. We don't know how much of that plan is culturally normal or culturally meaningful or completely crazy and God-breathed, but definitely there is an air that Ruth is taking a step of faith and putting herself in a position to need to have faith, to be uncomfortable at least. And so Ruth does do this, and so she goes in and finds Boaz nearly asleep, and she lies down at his uncovered feet. And in the middle of the night, he is startled by Ruth lying at his feet, and he asks who she is. And she replies with Ruth. And then she asks for the corner of his garment to help cover her like a blanket, and calls out to his guardian redeemer, his kinsman redeemer, place in their family. Boaz admonishes her and calls out her kindness and her faithfulness and her virtue. Given Boaz's age and humility in his romantic stature, probably, he says that the kindness that she has given him in this is even greater than that as before, that she has not just run after the younger men, rich or poor. And so he calls out her character and says that the only caveat is that although he is a kinsman redeemer, that there is another who is more in line to take care of Ruth. And so he tells her to give this over to him, sends her away with 6 measures of barley, and says that if the man he goes to is not willing, that Lord willing, that he will absolutely do it. And so Ruth goes back to her mother-in-law and tells her of Boaz's faithfulness, of the gifts he had just given her. And the last line, "Wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens, for the man will not rest until the matter is settled today." And so here we just see in this passage so much faithful anticipation. We see putting in motion faithful acts. We see obedience, and we see courage and boldness. We see respect, and we see admiration of each other. And obviously it's in a fairly complicated and interesting way. But here we see somebody who is vulnerable, somebody who as a society has allowed to fall through the cracks, who brings little to the table. And we see that person being respected and appreciated, being put in a safe place. And we see in Boaz that he could have been more selfish and just accepted Ruth's advances. But he wanted what was best for his family group and what was best for Ruth. We saw that he clearly had shown to Naomi and Ruth that he was taking their plea seriously and that he was going to resolve it one way or the other as well as he could. And so again, you see Boaz holding up this kinsman redeemer role. We see him valuing Ruth and Naomi, caring for their cause. We see him moved by their faithfulness to him. And we get this little glimpse of God in us, of God in Israel. We see again this humility being met with love and loyalty and faithful kindness. How often we can even, like Ruth, see ourselves as damaged or useless or beyond repair. That we are just a burden on Christ, that we are just a burden on the kingdom. How easy it is for us to fall into those mindsets. And here we see Boaz, here we see God excited to take up the case of Ruth. That God is excited to have a chance to redeem us. That God is excited to take his kingdom and his wealth and his harvest and give it to those he loves. Give it to those who are faithful to him and love him back. And so, Lord, I just pray that we would have the courage of Ruth to come to you, even when we know we have little to offer. Lord, that we would be like you in taking up the case of others. Lord, that we would trust you, that we would see what you've done to us in the past, how you've cared for us. And Lord, that we would be confident and encouraged, Lord, to once again come at your feet with nothing to offer and everything to gain. And Lord, would we be faithful to the one who has been faithful to us. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you. May the Lord be gracious to you. And today would you know his peace.